Something just happened that completely shook the AI world. A startup called DeepSeek decided to throw out the old rulebook, and what they did could change everything.
What if one scientific paper could single-handedly shake the trillion-dollar AI industry to its core?
For the very first time, one of the big AI models went through the ultimate test, peer review in the prestigious journal Nature. And the results? They sent shockwaves to the industry. What if, for the first time, we could finally see inside the black box? And the secret inside was more shocking than anyone predicted.
Here's the kicker. DeepSeek built the core of their model for just $294,000. While competitors burned through hundreds of millions, they pulled it off for the price of a sports car.
This is the story of DeepSeek, a startup that built a world-class AI for the price of a supercar and then handed the keys to the world's toughest critics.
Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to talk about something that just completely shook up the AI world. It's the story of a startup called DeepSeek, and they basically just decided to throw out the old rulebook. And let's kick things off with this quote, a very welcome precedent. This really gets to the heart of why this is such a huge deal. You see, for the very first time, a major AI model, one of the big ones, went through the ultimate scientific test, peer review. And what came out the other side? Well, it sent some serious shockwaves through the entire industry.
All right, so let's get right into it. The date to remember is September 17th, 2025. That's when the journal Nature, it doesn't get more prestigious than that, published a paper all about an AI model called DeepSeek R1. And look, this wasn't just another company blog post hyping up their own tech. No, this was a genuine landmark moment for AI.
Here's the thing you really gotta get. AI companies are always making these huge claims about how amazing their models are, right? But DeepSeek did something different. They basically handed their homework over to the toughest teachers in the world, independent scientists, and said, go ahead, poke it, prod it, tear it apart. They put their work under a microscope, and that just sets a completely new standard for transparency in this field.
And we're not talking about some niche model that nobody's ever heard of. No way! This thing has been downloaded almost 11 million times on Hugging Face. It's one of the most popular open source models out there. So, the fact that a model this popular decided to open up its playbook, well, that makes it even more of a big deal.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. Because the peer review process, it didn't just say, yep, it works. It revealed how it was built. And the first bombshell? The price tag. Honestly, this might be the most shocking part of the whole story.
Look at that number. Just let it sink in for a second. $294,000. You've got competitors out there burning through tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars to train their AIs. DeepSeek built the core brain of their model for less than a fancy sports car. This isn't just a small difference. It's a total game changer for the economics of AI. And this chart just lays it all out. Even when you factor in the cost of the bigger base model it's built on, the whole shebang comes out to a little over $6 million. That is a fraction of what the big players are spending. So you have to be asking yourself, how in the world did they pull that off?
Well, thanks to the Nature paper, we know the secret. And it came down to their hardware. They were using these NVIDIA H800 chips. Now, these are the ones that were modified for the Chinese market because of US export controls. So they're actually a bit less powerful than the top-of-the-line H100s everyone else wants. But here's the kicker. They were more than good enough. In fact, they turned out to be the secret weapon behind this whole cost-effective breakthrough.
Okay, so the cost is mind-blowing, but that's just part one of the story. The Nature paper also pulled back the curtain on the method DeepSeek used to make their AI so smart. This is the technical secret sauce, the part that has all the other researchers buzzing. It's a technique called Group Relative Policy Optimization, or GRPO. Let's break that down. Think of it this way. Instead of having human teachers show the AI thousands and thousands of correct answers over and over again, which is super expensive and time-consuming, this model basically taught itself how to think. It learned to reason through its own process of trial and error. And the process itself is it's really cool. The AI generates an answer. Then it looks back at its own work and checks if it's right. It verifies its own logic, and based on that, it adjusts its strategy for the next time. It's this constant loop of self-reflection and adaptation that lets it get really, really good at tackling tough problems in math, coding, you name it, all without a human holding its hand.
And the impact, it's been huge, and it's been immediate.
I mean, researchers are already saying that almost all the new work on this kind of AI learning in 2025 has been inspired in some way by what DeepSeek did. They put their ideas out there in January, and by September, the whole field was already following their lead. That's how fast things move. So let's zoom out for a second. What does this all add up to? What does it mean for the future of AI? Well, this is where we see the really big shift. Because this isn't just a story about one cool AI model. This is about changing the very way the entire industry operates.
Just look at this timeline. Back in January, they released this paper with these wild claims, and it actually causes a shock in the market. Stocks even dipped. It was all just a bold claim. But then, fast forward to September, and you have a peer-reviewed publication in Nature. It's no longer just a claim. It's a scientifically validated fact. That's the power of peer review. It turns industry buzz into actual solid knowledge. But the publication did something else, too. It forced DeepSeek to deal with a really big elephant in the room. There had been this persistent, pretty serious rumor swirling around the industry. The accusation that they cheated, that they secretly trained their model using data from a competitor, specifically from OpenAI. And here we have it, their official answer, on the record. As part of that rigorous Q&A process for Nature, the researchers had to state unequivocally that no, the R1 model was not trained on outputs from OpenAI. And making that statement under academic scrutiny, that carries a lot of weight.
And you know what? Other experts are backing this up. People who have tried to replicate their work are basically saying their reasoning recipe is so good they wouldn't have even needed to copy anyone else. The evidence is pretty clear now. Their method works, and it works incredibly well all on its own.
So, this whole saga with DeepSeek has really kicked off a revolution in transparency. It set a new bar, a precedent that a lot of people are hoping other AI labs are going to have to follow. But it also leaves us with one last, really big question. We got to peek inside this one black box. It makes you wonder, right? What's still hiding inside all the others?
We just got a rare peek inside one black box. But it makes you wonder, what secrets are still hiding inside all the others?
This isn't just a story about a smarter AI. It's a story about a new precedent, a revolution in transparency that is forcing every other tech giant to ask themselves one terrifying question. If they can do it for pennies, what's our excuse?